Daredevil Born Again. Now, I'm gonna kind of talk about the breakdown of the trailer, but without giving any detail to what you like, Jerry. Just one answer: did you like the trailer?
Yeah. Like I don't know how someone could watch that and not like it.
I 100% agree. All right, now I'm gonna read this breakdown I have, and then I just want to hear, Jerry, just your thoughts on everything. Okay, so a few things that we see Kingpin's rise to power. Okay, Kingpin is doing his thing. He's about to get involved in the government, and this is something that that Jerry and I have talked about that was going to happen from when we first started podcasting on here, right? And so it's finally happy, it's finally amazing to see that come to life. It is also public knowledge, between Kingpin and Murdock about his alter ego. They actually have a conversation about it, which is super like hilarious. I didn't know if they were going to retcon that or not, bro. So I'm happy that they're keeping everything that happened with, like, it seems like everything that happened in the Netflix show, they're just continuing that, which I'm super happy about because I was afraid, bro, that they were going to scratch it all. We also see that Muse is going to be the main villain for the show, and Muse looks freaking terrifying. Like, he looks freaking nuts. We also finally see that John Bernthal is back as the Punisher. We see Frank Castle and Daredevil in a fight, which is, I think, was super cool to us to see in action. We also see Foggy and Karen back. We also see that Bullseye. He is in this trailer, but it seems like he's in jail. And if you guys don't know, right, at the end of the Daredevil show, the old one, he did get like paralyzed. So it seems like he has healed up, which is very, interesting because, we saw some set photos of Bullseye, walking around. So I am excited to see him back in action as well. What is super weird about this trailer is that we see a cameo, and the cameo was Kamala Khan's father, which is very odd that he's playing a part in the story. And to be honest, it threw me off. We also see in this trailer the many helmets of the freaking Daredevil, which is showing that we will probably see multiple costumes in this show as well. And lastly, we also see the White Tiger, Hector Ayala. And you and I talked about this like months ago, where I told you, I thought that the White Tiger, they were going to go the female route because that's kind of the way that the MCU has been going, but they ended up going with the male version of that character, which I'm really excited about. So that's really like all of the main things from the trailer that you know was shown. So how do you feel about the how do you feel about it? What are some of your favorite things from this, and what has you super excited about this show?
Everything. First of all, Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin is one of the best castings. John Bernthal as Punisher is also one of the best castings, and John Bernthal as Punisher, just on its own, is probably in my top 10 favorite superhero portrayals of all time. Guy absolutely killed it. And, you know, I just think that they are like Daredevil Born Again with all these characters is shaping up to be it's have the best MCU touch to the Netflix Daredevil show. They're keeping the Punisher involved. They're using a big bad like Kingpin with also a little bad like Bullseye, who I also think Bullseye is a great character, and I love the kind of character study on him in the Netflix show, and I think that's the right move, by the way, because Netflix really struck gold with Daredevil. MCU is kind of just taking that baton and building on it a little bit, but it doesn't really seem like they are. It's not broke, don't fix it type of thing. I'm interested in what they're doing with Kamala Khan's father, Yusuf Khan. He's not a villain. Like, he kind of looked like a villain, or he might be involved in some bad things. That's not who he is in the comics. You know, so I don't know what they're doing there, but sounds interesting. Listen, the other thing that I think fans need to realize, and I wouldn't say this for all franchises, but the MCU is the blueprint. Everyone's trying to emulate and copy what the MCU did. Sometimes things could, when you've earned as much credit as the MCU has, you could originate things in the show that maybe didn't originate in the comics, especially with characters like Yusuf Khan. I would say, not so much with characters like Daredevil and the Punisher, like those ones you really need to respect the source material. But Yusuf Khan, have a field day, okay?
Yeah.
He's not a significant character. He might be important to some fans if you're a big fan of Miss Marvel. I get that, but you can't argue that he's a significant character because he's just not. All right. And yeah, I think the show is going to be awesome.
What about freaking Muse? Like Muse, bro, he looked terrifying, bro. That mask he had on looked freaking insane.
Yeah, for sure. So, it's not broke. Don't fix it. And I also like that. So the Netflix Daredevil show is obviously super grounded, but this is going to be that and grounded, just with more MCU style character involvement. There's going to be more crossover to it, but it's still going to be that grounded Daredevil Netflix type of show. And, I just got to give Netflix a lot of credit because they sold Daredevil to a ton of fans who weren't necessarily MCU fans. I have a lot of people that I know that loved Daredevil, never watched an MCU project before. And I also know people who love Daredevil and it got them interested in the MCU. And now they are MCU fans. And, I think we got to give more credit to the projects that do that and win us over new fans, because those are few and far in between, especially these days.
Yes, and like looking back, right, you can tell that Hawkeye and the Echo show, those it seems like they were maybe using those shows to test it out. Like can we go that dark? And Daredevil is like the final boss, like that. Like this is the final product of what they were trying like to do with those two shows, and I'm happy that they're not going away from what made Daredevil great. Because you and I have talked about this a lot. It worked for Nolan, but for a lot of guys, you can't really diverge from the originality of a character, and it works, right? But I am excited that they are using a similar and same style with this show, but also like Daredevil, like he's not going to be afraid to be a superhero. And not saying that in Netflix that was the case. I think that Netflix really focused on the sidekick and the character of Charlie Cox's character, and it seems like Feige's like, okay, like you guys know who this guy is, and if you want to know the info, you watched these last seasons. But now he's going to be a hero. Now, like this is going to be a Avenger. You know what I mean? And so Daredevil Born Again is like we've seen Matt go through hell. Now it's time for him to shine as the hero, and that's what has me really excited. And same for the Punisher. I'm more than sure that he could possibly be in some other projects as well, and I'm excited to see all of these characters. And there's rumors of Jessica Jones also being pulled into the MCU as well. She might be in this show. Really excited to see these characters bloom.
I also wouldn't be surprised to see. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but if there is a Disney Plus show where Spider-Man is going to be, it is Daredevil Born Again. The other thing too is we went through a period where origin movies were the thing to do. I mean, it was like every superhero for a long time in the 2000s were origin movies. And a lot of that, I think, came with having to win fans over. Like, I remember when I was really little, I loved superhero stuff. And then I felt like I kind of grew out of it. And then I remember movies like Spider-Man and Batman Begins came out. And I was like, oh, so he's not just a guy that could swing from building to building and climb walls because it's a cool story. He got bit by a spider and got the powers. Like, I didn't understand that, and that made me spark my interest again. But we're in 2024. The MCU is huge. DCU is about to be huge. All the major characters have had their origin told at least once. Daredevil's had it told on screen twice now with the Ben Affleck movie and the show. And I think that with those characters where the origin has been told once or twice, they're not doing it again. They didn't do it for Spider-Man and Homecoming. They're not doing it for Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four First Steps. Actually, we don't know that because the First Steps thing does seem to be space related. But there are a lot of characters that, like Batman, they didn't do it again for the Batman. Iron Man, they had to do it because, no one was really familiar with him at the time. Daredevil, they don't. And I think it's important to not necessarily acknowledge to all of us that we know that these movies and shows or whatever exist. But, if you want to see a Daredevil origin story, it's there. And chances are, if you're a fan, you've already seen it. And I think it's important to move with that mentality. And that's something that Kevin Feige has consistently done.
1,000%, bro. And by the way, I think this whole D23 for Marvel was a W overall. I think that they showcased their projects very well, and I think that fans are really excited. And having three projects that seem very dark is very different because Brave New World, Thunderbolts, and Born Again are all dark projects. So I'm really excited that that they're trying to reach the more mature crowd, right? And that's kind of pattern. You have Deadpool and Wolverine, where a lot of kids did see it, but it's a rated R film, and they're trying to kind of follow that same pattern. I don't think the Thunderbolts will be R, but it is a darker film. So yeah, Daredevil, Born Again, the trailer is awesome. Jerry and I are super excited. We can't wait to cover the crap out of that show, and I cannot wait to see that red costume, man. Oh, I can't wait to see it in action.
Yeah, and a lot of government involvement. Brave New World, obviously, Thunderbolts,
Kingpin,
Kingpin. I like stories like that. I think that they fare well for Marvel.
So let's just say 2025 is gonna be a fun year for us.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have a great time, man. And even Superman's having some government stuff going on too. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. It's just an interesting story for the time that we're in. Also,
yeah,
we'll see how they play into that. Hopefully they don't go too far into the Superman is an alien, and I don't even want to go there, but you get
yeah. Basically, stay in your universe. But basically, stay in your universe. Make it your universe. Yep.
Yeah,
and not the CW universe, but the original.